was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And since then, I have completely changed my career, started my own business, but I very much want to shed a light on cancer and on the taboo that is around cancer and how we don't talk about it. And I just think we need to talk about it more and to help raise awareness because there's so much of it out there. But we have Claire, the lovely Claire, who's going to be our first guest of season 2. But it was very important for Claire and I to do it just before October because that is the Cancer and Domestic Abuse Awareness Month. And we wanted to get this out there for that. So, Claire, so let's dive right in. So let me just get my laptop's just, what's that just done? 2 seconds. Right. So, Claire, tell me a bit about yourself and what life looked like before your cancer diagnosis.
So I was living pretty healthy lifestyles, going to the gym, building a business as a mum. My daughter was 18 at the time of my diagnosis. So yeah, I was just living a pretty, normal life in that sense. Just working and just trying to build for a future. I was looking at buying my first home and things like that. So yeah, there was some things that I was looking forward to at that time. I did have some problems, within my relationship around that time. But, we were trying to kind of work through those and move forward. And then obviously getting the diagnosis had a massive impact on, a lot of those things. And even in regards to buying the house and things like that, I kind of had to put those on the back burner. But it caused quite a lot of problems within, the relationship. I think it highlighted, a lot of cracks that were already there. And yeah, it was just a very difficult time. I think at that time, I was kind of needing that support and to be vulnerable in my relationship, but I feel I wasn't able to be like that.
So how did how did your whole diagnosis come about then?
So I'd just been in the shower. It was just a normal day. I'd been in the shower. I was lay on the bed. I'd put my cream on. I was just lying there to dry off. And as I was laid there, I just put my arm across my chest and then I could feel the lump. And I kept feeling it. And I thought, I need to, make myself an appointment to get it checked out. So I'd made myself an appointment. This was on the Saturday. So I'd made myself an appointment on the Monday. And they then got me an appointment by the Wednesday at the hospital. So it was quite quickly that they got me. Yeah, that they got me in. And when I went for my appointment, I'd had the ultrasound and then the mammogram.
Right.
And when I had the appointment after both of those, they kind of said there and then that it didn't look good and that, this is what we believe it, it is. And I had to have the biopsy at that time. While I was there at the hospital, they did the biopsy. And then it was just a case of waiting for those results. And just waiting for those results, it felt like the waiting was really difficult. And it felt like forever. It was about a week and a half. I waited till I got my results. They wouldn't give me anything over the phone. Because I remember I kept ringing and just asking for an update. And they said that, they wouldn't discuss it with me until I had my appointment.
Right. See, that's interesting because I got told over the phone.
Really? Yeah, so my hospital, they'd said that they didn't feel like it would be right to talk to me over the phone about something.
I mean, that's
like
right.
that.
I think that's right.
Yeah. And they kind of said it was just, if I was by myself and it was, obviously bad news, it'd be wrong to tell me over the phone. So
Mm, interesting. So explain those, when you did hear then those words, like what went through your mind?
I can just remember, obviously, at that point, when obviously they were telling me that, obviously this is what we think it is, I can just remember, those kind of like couple of weeks leading up to my appointment, it was very difficult because as part of me was trying to kind of just keep positive, like, well, maybe it's not,
Mm,
maybe they've got it wrong. And then the other part, obviously, was then thinking about, what does this mean? Like, what's going to happen? And then when I actually got the results, I just think everything else after they'd said those words, oh, you've got breast cancer, I felt like I didn't really kind of acknowledge anything else. It was kind
mm,
of just hearing those words and just, I think my first thought was like my daughter
mm,
and kind of like, what am I going to do? What does this mean? And they'd told me that it was a grade 3, so it was a higher grade cancer, which was more like aggressive and faster growing. So even just those words telling me that, it was kind of, that was quite worrying because I'm just like, you're telling me it's a grade 3. What does this mean? You're saying it's a fast
yeah,
grower. Like, what does this mean? How fast does it grow? There was so many things going around in my head. And after that appointment, the nurses did take me into like another room because I was I was quite upset.
yeah,
I felt I needed that time to kind of get that reassurance from them as well. So they did spend quite a bit of time with me trying to explain, what had been said. But I feel like because there was so much else going on around that time as well, I kind of found it really difficult I just found it very overwhelming.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I think you're not entirely sure that that's the news you're going to get, and then you get it, and then they tell you what grade it is, and it's all these words coming in, and it's just very surreal. But then for you, I guess then it was a case of you didn't though then have the support that you should have then back at home.
Yeah, yeah. I felt it was very much like I felt as though I kind of had to keep it to myself and I kind of had to
Mm,
deal with it on my own because by me like talking about how it was making me feel or even just being vulnerable in how I was feeling, it kind of felt as though by being like that I was being negative if that's how I was
mm,
made to feel. So it was very much like I wasn't able to be like that. And I
yeah,
found that made it even more harder because it's like I was having to, yeah, it's like I had to be quite numb about it all. Like I wasn't able to have those feelings
yeah.
because if
Which
I
is
had those feelings, it was as though I was kind of inconveniencing somebody else, and
mm,
I shouldn't have felt like that. I shouldn't have been made to feel that way.
no. I mean, so let's go then to like, your family and your friends. Like how did you did you tell your daughter straight away or did you
No, I
wait?
didn't. I didn't tell her straight away. So I'd gone to my appointment, and I think I wanted to know everything first before speaking to her about it because she kind of had questions,
Mm,
or I feel like I just felt I needed to get my head around it a little bit first before telling her because then I
mm.
needed to then be strong for her when I told her.
Yeah.
So it was a case of just making sure that I could then reassure her, knowing exactly what was going to happen. Was I going to be okay? Is it treatable? All those types of things. I wanted to be able to reassure her. So I kind of waited until, I'd got all of my results before speaking to her about it.
Mm, yeah. And I think that's the thing as mums, like we don't our job is like to protect our children. So when
Yeah.
something coming at us, it's really, really tricky. So did you feel like you had to stay strong then for your daughter and like for
Yeah,
your brothers?
yeah, definitely, definitely. I think as a mum, you want to protect them, don't you? It's just that motherly instinct. You want to protect your
Mm.
children,
Yeah,
and it
mother bear
was,
comes out.
yeah, and it was difficult because at the time there was a lot of other things going on. So as well as me going through the treatment, I was then having to move as well. So I kind of had to come away from the home that I was living in previously. So it kind of meant that I was having to I was having to start again. I did go into a temporary accommodation for a short while, which wasn't nice. It wasn't
Mm,
great, especially with what I was going through. So I did stay with my parents for a short while, and then I got a little flat, and me and my daughter moved in there. But I think just her seeing me go through what I went through day to day, especially when I was having the treatment, like the
mm,
impact that has, that was really difficult for her as well. And, I could see how hard that was, but then I was trying to keep things as normal as possible.
mm. And that's the thing. I think that's, I mean, I can imagine now that you and your daughter are like thick as thieves,
Yeah,
and that this has
definitely.
like definitely brought you two like closer together. So before we sort of move on to the cancer, then let's sort of go back and let's talk about then like the other subject, which is very taboo. Um, so with your relationship, was your other half, was he supportive at all through the like the whole sort of like diagnosis, or was it just
So
downhill straight away?
I think in the beginning, I think I kind of thought maybe he didn't know how to be there. Maybe it was, obviously it's a shock for everybody when you find
Mhm.
out, you know, your partner's got cancer. So, I tried to kind of understand it from that perspective that maybe it was the fact that he probably didn't know how to be there.
Mm,
And for me, I think it was just comments. So it was a case of, he kind of made a comment about me, kind of being positive about it. And it was, I just felt like, well, you're not the one going through it. You're not the one that's
mm,
just been told that you've got breast cancer, and I don't think people realize the impact that has. So I didn't feel that I was supported emotionally.
mm,
And there was just comments that was made as well at certain points that were not very nice.
mm,
So quite hurtful comments about my cancer. And, it was kind of, I felt like it was used in a way to kind of, you know, hurt me emotionally with what I was already going through. And
yeah.
it was just quite a traumatic time for me, really. Um, with everything that happened all within that short space of time. So I'd gone from, living in a home that I thought was going to be my forever home. I was going to buy this home. I thought that, I was going to have a future with this person, and I'd got my business. I was looking at expanding and doing new things. So it's then kind of like all of this was just taken away from me like overnight.
Mm,
And that one person that you think will be your anchor, during that time actually ended up, being the person that I had to break away from that for my own well-being. I don't think I would have got through the treatment and the cancer if I
No,
hadn't have put myself, yeah, out of that situation.
and that's the thing. I think you have to put yourself first. And if somebody is putting you down when you already have so much to deal with, then they're cancer themselves. You don't want that
Yeah,
toxic you don't need that in your life.
yeah.
So how long into your diagnosis and your treatment then was it that then you split from him?
So I went to the doctors it was 14th of July last year that I went to the doctors um, regarding the lump. So it was the 30th of July that I actually got the diagnosis.
Right.
So then I had my surgery booked in for the 24th of September. So it was it was the end of August. So it was like the 29th of August that I decided that this is it, enough is enough. If I'm going to get through this, I'm going to have to take myself away, out of this relationship. So yeah, it's been like just over a year now.
Mm. How long had you been with him?
So we've been together, it was nearly 4 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, you would think that someone who has been with you would want to support you, but
Yeah.
that was probably not his intention. And I
Yeah.
think I think cancer does make you see things very differently, and it does then make you then realize that you do have to put yourself first, and especially in instances like this.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, what treatment did you have for the cancer?
So I had the surgery. So I had a lumpectomy and I then had a breast reduction because I had to remove quite a lot of the breast tissue. I had a breast reduction, which
Mm.
luckily they were able to do on both at the same time. So that was the first part of the treatment. And then I started chemotherapy in the December. And then I had to have two different types of chemotherapy. So I had the EC, and then I also had docetaxel. And then after my chemo, it was a course of radiotherapy. So I had a week of radiotherapy where it was like the surrounding area, and
Mm.
then a week where it was just like more of a target on the where the lump was.
Right.
And then now I have to take a tablet called an Astrozole, and I have to take that for the next 7 years of my life, and that's to block because it was estrogen positive.
Right.
The tablet is a hormone blocker, so that will block the estrogen to try and prevent the cancer from returning.
So how long was the entire, because I mean, I had radiotherapy, so I never had chemo. So it always I'm always very sort of like intrigued when it comes to chemo. So how long was the whole both lots of chemo and radiotherapy? Like what was that time?
So I had to have three of each chemotherapy. So it was every 3 weeks. So it was six treatments basically every 3 weeks. But there was a couple of periods where I had to miss a week due to my low white blood cells. So there was a period after my last EC where I ended up being admitted in hospital because I became neutropenic, so my like white blood cells were literally non-existent. I had to go on to antibiotics for 2 days. I felt so poorly. I never felt so poorly,
Mm.
it before. Just I felt horrific, and obviously it was important that I then had the antibiotics because if I'd got an infection, I could have been really poorly.
Mm.
So I then also had to do daily um, immunity injections as well. So I
Right.
had to take those, which they work by releasing more blood cells from the bone marrow. So obviously, it's making things work a lot harder, so you do get a lot of pain from those.
Mm.
So that did cause, quite a lot of pains and things like that. So, I mean, the side effects were really difficult. It
Mm.
was a very difficult time. And I feel with the doxytaxel that I had so many side effects with that, down to there was a period of time where my hands became really red and sore,
Mm.
and it looked like they'd been burnt. So they were just red and it looked like they'd been burnt. Then over the next few days, they all became, all I can describe it of, it just looked scaly, like you've
Mm.
been burnt in a fire. My
Mm.
hand looked like that, and the
Oh my
whole of the
God.
skin of my hands was peeling, the bottom of my feet, so sensitive to touch. So the side effects I found were very difficult.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think it's just the impact that a lot of the side effects have. I think for me, one of the big things was my hair.
Mm.
And that happened quite quickly. I didn't expect it to happen as quickly as it did. So what I'd done, like the week before, I'd gone and had like a short haircut just so it
Mm.
didn't feel you know, so much going from having, because I had really long hair.
Right.
And within, it was literally like 5 days after my first treatment, it was just coming out in clumps. And then I decided to just shave it off to kind of take that control. And the following day, because I'd arranged to meet my friend the following day, and I can remember I just felt so vulnerable.
Mm.
Having to go out, I just felt so anxious and vulnerable.
Mm.
And I just said to her, "Can we meet somewhere else? I don't want to go to town." The thought of going into town,
Yeah.
it just, yeah, I just felt I wasn't able to do it at that point. So that was a that was a massive thing for me, and I think you feel like you've lost the person that you was before. That I
That's
feel
the
like,
thing. I think hair, like, it's kind of like your identity.
yeah,
And I think and especially like with those who have had chemo, I think for some, it's funny how like it affects different people. Because some people, they can go months and it's really gradual, or they don't lose it, or like yourself, 5 days later
yeah,
and it's coming out, and it's you just can't really sort of prepare yourself for it.
yeah. I feel that's it. And then it's, when you lose your eyebrows and then you lose your
Mm.
lashes, and I think when you look at yourself in the mirror, and I think, because I never felt poorly before, I didn't
Mm.
feel poorly. It was just, I think having the treatment, that's when, I looked at myself and thought, it kind of like, you realize kind of like what's actually happening and what's going on. And I think for me, I had so many different feelings going on, because I feel like it's like, I was fighting multiple wars with myself, if you know what I mean. So I
Mm.
had the
Yeah.
cancer, the relationship, the house. So it was like everything
Yeah, it
all at
really is.
once became just so overwhelming.
I'll tell you, I just had cancer. I just had cancer. So just, but I can't imagine having to deal with so many other things as well. It's just like, yeah. So what fears did you have in terms of like of those side effects? Like, was you worried about, whether or not your hair was going to come back, whether or not your lashes would have come back?
Yeah, yeah, I did worry about, kind of how things would be after, because, I suppose you don't know, like, is my hair going to come back as it was, before, or, is it going to come back at all? Because, there's a lot of things that can happen, and down to like my eyelashes, my eyebrows, and things like that. And when I did finish my treatment, I did have some problems with nerve damage in my leg,
Oh,
and it that kind of was really difficult as well because I thought, is this my life now?
yeah.
Like, it got to the point where the nerve damage in my leg was that intense that it brought me to tears. And
Mm.
for about 3 or 4 days, the pain was agonizing to the point that I'd gone to A&E and they'd given me morphine, which didn't work because obviously it was more nerve related. So
Mm.
anything they'd given me as a pain relief wasn't helping. So I then got prescribed some gabapentin from the doctor, which helped, but it took a few days for it to actually start to work. But I did feel at that point, I thought, is this my life now?
Yeah.
Like, is this how my life's going to be?
That's
And
really interesting that it was then in
mm,
your leg because obviously you didn't have, you didn't have cancer in your legs. So it's like, why is
yeah, but they
nerve
say
damage?
it's quite common to get you can get nerve damage, but it was on the same side where I had the chemo. I mean, when I had my first chemo treatment, I had it. They did it through where they put the cannula in,
Yeah.
and it's damaged one of my veins.
Oh,
So I ended up having a PICC line, which made things a lot easier, for
right.
like than my treatments because they said with the chemo being very strong, it can damage your veins. So one of my veins now on my lower arm is hard.
Oh, wow.
Um, so yeah, and I notice sometimes with my hands, so
Do
like
you get like
nerves in my
pins and
hands.
needles?
Yeah, so it's like I think exercising helps. So I have
Yeah.
started to go back to the gym, a bit more. I feel like that's definitely helping to
Mm.
manage the pain.
Yeah. Okay. So, what do you think cancer has like impacted the most for you in your life?
Feel, I think the thing is, I feel like there is, as much as it's been a very difficult journey, I do feel like there's a lot of positive that's come from it as
Hmm.
well. So I do feel for me, it's kind of made me have a new outlook on life.
Hmm.
And I feel that I look at things in a totally different, perspective.
Hmm.
And, the things that I've then done and achieved in that short time from finishing my treatment, it's kind of given me that motivation to want to do those things for myself. I feel like I kind of, not that I wasn't happy before, but it's like I suppose I was more just kind of surviving and
Yeah.
coasting along. I wasn't really living, if that
Living. Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah, where I feel like having cancer has made me like value my life so much more.
Hmm.
And, I want so much more and I want to help, other people as well from my experience.
Yeah.
And so the fears, the fears from obviously having the cancer, I do have, in the back of my mind, what if it comes back,
Hmm.
and you get like a pain or, and then feeling, when I'm doing my checks and things like that. And sometimes I think, oh, is there something there? So I think
Yeah.
there's those fears of, you know, the cancer returning and, you know, if it does return, what does that, what will happen kind of thing. So
Mm.
it's like I do have the fears in regards to that side of things, but I try not to kind of let that overtake,
Yeah. Because
what
that's
I
the
am
thing.
trying to do.
And that's the thing. I think it's taken so much, and you could live in that fear, but then you're not going to live, and you're just going to be in that
Yeah,
dark forever. And cancer takes so much from us. It's a case of, well, I'm not going to let it take any
yeah.
more. I wish there was a pill that we can that other people could have, that so they didn't have to go through cancer to then realize like how it's not selfish for them to want more for themselves in life, and
Yeah.
how they are just coasting, and we only have this one life. And yeah, I wish there was a pill. That's not.
And I think it makes you feel, I think for me as well, it made me think so much more about my daughter. Like, you do think
Mm,
about them anyway, but even just in regards to, I think I want to be there when she has children. I want to be there when she
mm,
goes through certain life events, and things like that. Like, I want to be there for her.
mm,
And I think that's another fear that it does bring, I
yeah,
think. So, yeah, I think it's so now I just kind of make sure that, if I want to do something, well, I'm going to do it.
yeah,
I'm not going to wait till next month or
hmm,
next year. If I can do something, then, you know,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
let's do it. Yeah.
yeah. And that's the thing. And I think it's none of us ever want to have cancer, but it's when we do take the good from it. I think that's what
Yeah.
then really makes us strong. So for anyone who is listening in the thick of their cancer battle right now, what would you say to them? Like, what advice would you give them?
I think it's important, to have that support, and reach out for that support. I think for myself, I was lucky in a sense of I did have, a good support around me, despite kind of like what I went through, with my ex-partner. But I think it's on those days when you are really struggling,
Mm,
it's just knowing that there is support out there. And it's like, if you're not sure on things, just to ask,
mhm.
you know, and I think to kind of understand as well, um, more about the type of cancer. And I think that's important as well,
Yeah.
you know, and it's just, yeah, it's just, I think definitely just building a bit of a support network. And there is so many things out there, of different support networks of people that
Mm,
can help. I've had quite a lot of help from Women's Work, which is a local service that help ladies that have been in similar situations, relationship wise. So they've
yeah.
been really supportive. And then also Breast Cancer Now, I found they were really good in regards to services they provide.
Hmm.
Even just like the phone services, there were times when, because I think it's really lonely when you're going through it. Especially I know my friends were there for me, and I had them there, but none of them really understood what was going on or what I
No.
was going through. And sometimes it feels like it's a really lonely place
Yeah,
to be.
absolutely.
And I know with Breast Cancer Now, they offer a service where there are people that have been through, like they match you up with someone that's been through a similar cancer to yourself, and they can call you and you
Mhm.
can have conversations. So they'll call you like every fortnight or every
Right.
week. And
That's
it's just
amazing.
nice, yeah, to know
Yeah.
that there is somebody that,
Because that's the thing, it is, and I think family and friends, they can try to like comfort you, but they either say the wrong thing or they don't know what to say. And then
yeah,
you either like you then get frustrated or get snappy with them. And it's just like nobody gets it. They don't understand me. But
yeah.
like there's so much support out there. Um, we just had a comment. I just can't read it now. Rachel said, "Such a vulnerable and powerful conversation, ladies. Yes, I also wish there was a." Oh, I said a pill. Did it sound like I said pole? What does she mean, pill? To help others appreciate their loved lives and body. Yeah, absolutely. Um, oh yeah, she said pill. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I think because I stayed away from social media when I was going through it. I didn't think to even come onto Instagram, and
Yeah.
I wish I had, because there are so many people out there who do resonate and they do know what you're going through. And it doesn't even matter if you have had the same cancer. I think we've all just had those same fears and those same
Yeah.
thoughts and worries. And it's just nice to speak to somebody who gets it.
Oh no, definitely. And I found even, when you go to your hospital appointments and things like that, there
Mm.
were times when I'd be waiting and there'd be other people that are obviously in similar situations. And sometimes it was nice to talk to somebody
Mm.
that, like you say, they get what you're going through. They understand,
Yeah,
um, and yeah, I think it's important to have that when you're going
absolutely.
through something like that.
Yeah. And plus, it's like, I did a live with my husband last week, and I never even thought to ask him what he's like, how's he feeling, or how's he, what's
Yeah.
he going through. So you don't even like, your family might not even want to talk about it because they're trying to process it themselves. So it's nice to then, yeah, have other
Yeah,
people.
maybe sometimes they don't even know what to say.
No,
Um, and yeah, I suppose it's hard for them as well. It impacts them in a different way. They're seeing the person that they love going through something,
yeah,
something like that. And I think, especially when you're going through the treatment side and you're starting to look poorly and you're going through
mm,
that side, that's hard for someone to look at somebody like
yeah,
going through that.
yeah.
And I
Oh,
feel for me, I found that really hard, like with my daughter, um, you know, for her to see me like so vulnerable and going through, what I was. There were times when, my whole body hurt that I couldn't even, just getting up to go to the toilet was too painful,
mm,
So yeah, just the way that it impacts you.
yeah. And this is
And
like,
then,
this is what I love about this, is that, like, in hearing your story, people are then sort of like hearing about, all the different things that someone with breast cancer will go through. And it's all also it's all those incidents and all those, that treatment and all of that side effects that people don't hear about. I think
yeah,
it's really important that, you share your story and that other people have something to sort of listen to and relate to. So, what one word, lastly, would you associate with cancer?
one word.
One word.
Um, Vulnerability, maybe vulnerable.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's a good one. Because it does. I don't think there's not a lot out there that can make you feel so vulnerable.
No, there isn't. I think when when I think back to moments, when I was going through certain stages, and how vulnerable I felt,
Hmm.
and yeah, I think that was really hard. Like even just the anxiety that I felt
Mm,
at times, just going out and doing things that you kind of take for granted on a day-to-day basis that we just do.
hmm.
And, when I was going through that journey, and especially with the effects from, the treatment and then having to put myself out there, even just down to the vulnerabilities of, because I was going through my treatment in the winter months, it's then that
Mm.
vulnerability of being around other people and picking something up. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I was terrified because I was going through, it was through COVID time, and I was like, I don't want to be there anymore.
yeah, that's the thing. And even just like, when you're having to go to supermarket and just pick up some, like you're going to do a bit of shopping and things like
Yeah.
that, it's kind of like you feel really vulnerable.
Mhm.
And so, like, just the simple things that we would just do day to day become more of a worry.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot more scary. And yeah, no, that's a perfect word. Perfect word.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
That's
for coming on.
okay.
I really appreciate you telling your story and being vulnerable. But yeah, I really appreciate you. So if anybody else would like to come on and share their story like the lovely Claire has, then just message me. But enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and
Thank
thank
you.
you to everyone who joined. And yeah, see you all later.